Well, hello and welcome back to another video. Today we're getting a later start than normal. It's probably a little after 10 a.m. As we pull out, and the reason for that is this morning everything was so clouded and stopped in. There was no really any kind of color, any kind of light, and really cold, and it just didn't make a lot of sense to get out, at least in my opinion. But in the last hour or so, the clouds are starting to break up. The sun's coming out. Actually, the sun is out. You can actually see it. There's a little bit of blue sky. So I thought I'd do is get out in the adventure Jeep, drive out here into the country to a spot we've been to about 2 years ago. All right, haven't been back to since, at least to shoot from this angle, of an old horse farm that's kind of been in the news here lately. Around here, people, somebody had posted a picture on one of the local Facebook pages of this place that they took and asked, is there any history, or what is this place, or where is this place at? And listening to it, you're reading some of the posts. I mean, it's very clear this place has been around for a very long time. So I thought I'd go out, maybe talk a little bit about what I read, some of the different people's comments, along at the same time kind of talk about why I use the 8-18 Leica / Lumix Elmerit, f2.8 to f4 wide angle lens. Why did I choose that versus several of the other options that are out there? So I'm going to drive out. It's not that far away from home, and see what we can come up with here, and I'll get back with you once we get on location. So thanks for coming along, everybody. All right, so we're close to where the place is. It's over here. You can kind of see it through the trees. All right, it's an old, for lack of a better term, we'll call it a mansion or farmhouse, whatever you want to call it, up on a hill. All right, off of a busy road between Richwood and Walton, Kentucky. I think this is in Boone County. I don't think we've moved over to Kenton County yet, at least not here. But this morning we're out doing a couple tests. Besides talking about my 8-18, the other thing I wanted to do is, I was watching a video this morning, Guido Vandewater posted, and he was talking about using his DJI Pocket 3 and having some issues with it, and he was showing that it was the temperature was affecting it, and it wasn't really working very well. All right, so this morning, he was at -7C, so I don't know what that is right off the top of my head, but let's say it's somewhere in the neighborhood of probably say 15, 18 degrees. All right, well, this morning we're at 27 degrees Fahrenheit here, 25 to 27, with real heavy winds and a wind chill of about 7 degrees. So it's definitely not warm by any stretch of the imagination. Hence the reason for the hat, the Valorant gloves, and everything else. And I can tell you, the wind chill is there. Even the bottom of my ears are feeling really cold just in the few minutes I've been out. So we're walking along here. Here again, look over, you can see this beautiful old farmhouse. All right, so what about the history of this that got my attention? All right, apparently this has been here since the 1800s, and it's passed through a lot of different hands. All right, today there's no record of anybody actually inhabiting it. Now, there is a house next to it that certainly is, but the home itself, at least from everything I could find, technically is not. The most recent owners were people that had it as a, for I guess lack of a better term, we'll call it a wedding venue. They used the old barns and things for a wedding venue. And Today it's not used for anything. At one time it was owned by an attorney, all right, and I can't remember the name, you know, but the attorney, you know, lived in it, and they had horses and everything here. You know, they would board horses, and I saw a lot of posts from people that were saying, yeah, that they, you know, boarded horses here years and years ago. You know, but today, you know, if you look along this fence line, you know, which we've been walking along here, as you can see, it's not in the best of shape. All right, so it's not really being taken care of. At least that's my opinion. Not being taken care of like it should. So it's, you know, kind of running down, which is not good for a historic old place like this, because it is absolutely beautiful. The last time I was here, it was all snow covered and everything. It was right after it had snowed in the morning, and so we came out here and tried to take an image of this at sunrise, and it was not great, but you know, it's the only time I've really stopped here to take a picture of this old house. All right, now kind of slippery walking on the side of the sill because there is a little bit of snow and stuff out. I guess I could go up here by the road right now as I work my way down, trying to find an angle that I'm happy with shooting at that isn't covered by trees or something. I think I'm coming up on it here by this sign, this road sign. And right here looks pretty good. If I can get my tripod up high enough. Oops, sorry. Yeah, if I can get my tripod up high enough to get over the fence. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to go down here to that spot. So anyway, let me try to set up and we'll talk here in a few minutes. All right, well, we had to settle on moving farther down just because of the fence and a few other things here. You can see how far down I had to come, and you can see there's my view of the house up on the hill. Currently shooting at about 11 millimeter. I'm going to back it out to 8. Take an image. We are using an 8-stop grad ND filter here, trying to block out some of the sky. You know, we're shooting about 1/800th of a second because of the time of day we're here. All right. Now let's go all the way out or in at 18. Try that. Let's see here. I don't know if you can see things in the back of my camera. It's just too bright out. But hey. Bring that back around here. Don't ask me why she took and spun all the way around on me, but we're learning. As far as the battery and everything, saying it's too cold to operate, I'm not seeing that, at least with the DJI Pocket 3, that at least I'm not seeing what Guido was seeing. All right. Don't know why he was. There's nothing fancy with any of these images here. Nothing's really going to turn out and be fantastic. It's more of just an opportunity to get out and test the equipment and see what's going on. The other thing, notice I didn't mention, but if you see here, I'm using my Ulanzi travel tripod, and I'm using the Ulanzi plate. I bought a few additional plates, and the reason for that is trying to think advanced going to Australia. I think I'm going to take this setup with this, and instead of using my L brackets, I'll just use these plates because they work. Not only can they work in an Arca Swiss application, but they also work well with this, you know, lock-in, you know, type head that comes standard with the, you know, tripod that I purchased, you know, a couple 3 years ago, you know, and so it gives me the ability to just travel lighter and smaller and more compact, really, is what it comes down to. That's the reason why I would do it. Lots of traffic along this road today. Sorry about that. But that's what it is. So now, why would I choose the 8 to 18 as opposed to many of the other options that are out there? Well, really, okay. I started off with the 9 to 18, the original version, not the new version. I started off with that, and it's like f4 to 5.6 or something like that. I can't remember exactly. All right, but that's what I started with, and then I tried the Panasonic 7 to 14 f4. All right, and then from that, I kept looking. So then I tested a couple times when it first came out, the 7-14 f2.8 Olympus lens. All right, so I tried that one, and that lens is beautiful. It's fantastic. It's f2.8 constant aperture. The problem is it's got that bulbous head that, you know, made putting a circular polarizer or anything on it impossible. Well, not impossible, but you have to buy a bunch of equipment to make it happen. Kind of big and bulky, and kind of, in my mind, defeated the purpose. So then I decided to try this lens when it came out, all right, several years ago, and I just loved it. I absolutely just loved it. You know, it's not an inexpensive lens. I think it's about $1,200 brand new, all right, and it's not a constant aperture. It's an f2.8 to f4, you know, but from an image quality standpoint, it was fantastic, all right, and I kind of got hooked on it. Now, I prefer constant aperture. I'm not going to kid anybody. You know, I prefer that, and I prefer f2.8. Again, just preference. It doesn't mean you have to have it. It's just what I prefer. But this particular lens, I like its functionality, and I like its size, all right, and I like the glass itself. I think it renders a great image, and so I'm willing to give up, I guess, my desire to have a constant aperture. All right, now, the time I purchased this, the 8-25 didn't exist, all right. Now the 8-25 f4 is out, you know, from an OEM system standpoint. You know, and I have not tried it, and I've watched several videos on people who have. You know, yeah, it gives you a little bit more range than this, but I don't know if I really gained anything other than it's f4, not f2.8. Here, at least I have a shot at f2.8 at wider aperture. So I think, at least for now, this is a weather-sealed lens just like the OEM stuff. So in my standpoint, I'm going to stick with this. I like it. You know, I like what it does. I like how it, you know, operates. I like how it just, everything about it I enjoy. The only thing negative is right here. And I think I've talked about this in the past, is it's the zoom in and out is the opposite of everything Olympus and OM, and that's messed me up a couple times. I won't kid anybody. All right. But it is, you know, a great lens, and if you're looking at, you know, trying to make a decision on what you want, I mean, this is it's a good setup. You know, it great glass. It isn't inexpensive, and it isn't light, and it isn't super small, but it is lighter and smaller than the 7-14, or yeah, was it 7-14 f2.8 Olympus/OM lens. All right, and I'm going to guess it's similar in size, maybe a little bit smaller than the 8-25 that's out there today. But it is, you know, something I recommend if you're looking for a wide angle and micro four thirds. You know, I think it's something you would enjoy. You know, and don't discount any of the Panasonic, you know, pro lenses, the 2.8s, you know, the 35, 12-35, and the 35-100. I mean, f2.8s, they're small and compact, and they're great. I've tested them or owned them and over the years, and they're great lenses. I wouldn't back away from them. They don't have to all just be Olympus/OM lenses. You can get by with the Panasonic. They're just as good, to be honest. In a lot of ways, they're not. I wouldn't say they're better, but they're definitely good lenses, and things that you can certainly, you know, get your hands on fairly cheaply if you want to buy them used. All right. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm, you know, taking a couple of images here as we've been talking. You know, I really haven't changed any settings or anything. Just really not worried too much about what it looked like. It's more just wanted to come and take a look again at this old historic farmhouse, you know, and it is beautiful, but it is damn cold, let me tell you. All right, so I think what I'll do is if I've taken a couple images here that turn out halfway decent, I'll put one or two of them in for you to see, sorry. I'm gonna make my way back to the Adventure Jeep and maybe wrap this video up there, try to get out of this cold wind, because it is definitely cold. All right, so anyway, here's another look at the farmhouse up on the hill. You can see the trees and stuff moving. If you're, you know, it's definitely windy and definitely cold. So anyway, everybody, let's put this stuff up and get back to you here in a couple seconds. Okay, well, we made it back to the adventure Jeep, at least out of the cold. You know, they say it's a wind chill of 7 degrees. I think it's closer to 0. Yesterday, the temperature was like 55 or 57 degrees. Temperature dropped overnight. Actually had snow on the ground this morning. It's just amazing how here in January how things can change from one day to the next. I think we're supposed to warm up a little bit going through the week, but I think we're in the 30s and 40s for the rest of the week. I guess it's just what it is. Okay, so leave me some comments down below. Let me know why you use, the wide angle lens that you use. What lens do you use? Why do you feel it's the right lens for your photography? Throw some comments in for that. I'd like to really, see what other people are doing and why they, whether it's micro four thirds, full frame, crop sensor, I don't care. Just curious what you use, all right, and why you use it. All right. Beyond that, I think some good news here is, we've gone from about 600, 700 subscribers about 6-8 weeks ago. Now we're pushing 2,000, which is a great thing. So there's a lot of new people watching. Just want to say thanks to everybody. Hope you enjoy the content. Hope you enjoy, everything that we try to put out here, on this channel. Don't be afraid to drop some comments, good or bad. All right, because you can all I can ever do is endeavor to try to get better and make things more interesting. So please, share that. But thanks for joining the channel. That's greatly appreciated. I don't want to ramble all day or all night. Then we'll go home, watch a little bit of football here, and enjoy the rest of this Sunday. Do want to finish with garage talk. My next segment of garage talk, that'll probably be the next video you see. All right, that'll be like all the other ones. I'm going to just record it, a couple topics. I think I'm going to talk about my #1 video from 2025 and my #1 image based on views and likes and those kind of things. All right, from 2025, I'll bring those, show examples, and we'll put a little bit of that in there and talk a little bit about a couple other things. But the next one, the February edition, I think what I want to do is I want to do it as a live. All right. Now, I have no idea how to do that yet. I've never done one. Don't know exactly how it'll work. I got to do a little bit of, research and testing between now and then. But I'd really like to do it as a live. So I'm curious, how you feel about it. So leave some comments on that. Do you like it? Would you like the idea? Would you attend something like that? I try to do it, on a weekend, reasonable time, Eastern time. I live in the Eastern time zone. So, like a 10, 11 o'clock Eastern time, which still gives you folks in Europe the opportunity to see it later in the day. But I think that probably makes the most sense. But leave me some comments. Let me know what you think. All right. Done rambling. All right. Until we see you again, stay safe.